BTS, Chris Brown, Justin Bieber, One Direction, Ginette Claudette, Musiq Soulchild, Sean Kingston. These are all names that artist, songwriter, producer August Rigo has written for or collaborated with. He has a publishing deal with Sony Music Publishing, is an artist, and he is the founder of his own label, Summer Child Records. It's Not Fair is his new song out. I encourage all of y'all to check it out. Welcome, August. How you doing, man?
What's going on, man? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. When was that moment for you when music struck its first lightning bolt straight into your heart?
Oh man, I think, man, I was 5 years old. My mom had I came from a family that was very big on karaoke. So it may have been my earlier memories that maybe I can't remember, may have been watching my family do karaoke.
Right.
But my earliest memory of being like, wow, this is something that's affecting me differently was my mom had a videotape of Michael Jackson, Motown 85, first performance with Billie Jean. Yeah. Little did I know when I look back at that concert, Stevie Wonder was there, Smokey Robinson was there, and those. I watched that whole tape, but the Michael Jackson performance, that's the one that was like, oh man, I must have watched it 100, 200 times as a kid, trying to do the moonwalk, doing that thing. And I know that stuck with me forever. So that's the first thing that was the thunderbolt that kind of was like, and then from there, I can't remember wanting to do anything other than music. So wow. I always say people spend their whole lives looking for, the passion or what they want to do. And, I've found it very, very early, like 5 years old. I was like, yeah, this is what I,
5 years old.
This is what I love. I didn't know, at that time, I didn't know where it would take me, but I just knew I loved this. I loved the performing. I loved the music. I loved whatever was happening on that screen. I loved it. And then,
that's when he debuted the moonwalk, isn't it?
That's when he debuted it. Yeah. That was I was just like, what is this?
So it's not only the music, but that visual aspect, it sounds like it really captured you.
Yeah. There was an energy about it, at 5 years old, I knew I was watching something special. I had no concept of what it was. I didn't know who this guy was, I just saw this thing and I was like, oh,
what?
Yeah, exactly. What?
It's like, when did you start picking up an instrument, and what was your first instrument?
My first instrument was the piano. I started, I guess, around maybe a couple of years later, 6, 7. I was 6, 7, maybe, yeah, around there. I was pretty young. I remember my dad taking me to piano lessons every Saturday, and I was good. Like I was really, really good. And then it's such a weird thing. I know, like I used to practice. My parents were on me. Hey, did you practice piano today? I practiced half an hour a day. I was like, yeah, I'm being 6 or 7 years old and trying to sit.
That's discipline.
For half an hour. It's a lot. Like I can remember them being on me, but I'd always practice. Even if I forgot, they'd be on me. I'd practice. Cool. We'd get graded in this piano class. We get graded every class. You'd get a grade. Never got anything lower than A. I was always an A. So for, I guess, a year,
student.
It was an A. And I always practiced. So I knew I'm going to get an A. I just expected it. And then one day I made a mistake and they gave me, I was playing and I made a mistake and they gave me a B. Teacher gave me a B and I was so upset that I quit.
What?
I quit a year in.
What were you feeling?
I felt like I did what I was supposed to do, like I practiced, I was playing well. I made one mistake and I was like, that's not fair. I can play this. I can go again and play this perfectly. And they gave me a B that week. And I knew in my brain, I can remember this. It's so long ago and I can remember the feeling. I did the work. I practiced. Right. I can play this. I made that mistake, but I can do this. Oh, and then it was like, nope, you got a B today. It's okay. Don't worry. Get it in. I was like, no, that's not right. I was like, that's not right. So I literally quit. I told my dad, and my dad was like, are you sure? Are you sure? The whole week, I was like, I'm quitting. He was like, okay, well, we'll go on Saturday and see how you feel. And on Saturday, I can see it in my head. We were going up the stairs, this little, piano school. And he was like, are you sure you want to quit? I was like, yeah. And I was still upset.
Wow.
And my parents have always been like that with me. They've always been very, they'll give me what I want. Like, if I wanted to play piano, if I wanted to play baseball or basketball or whatever, they'd be like, cool. If they could afford it, they would let me do it. I stopped when I said hockey because I wanted to play as a Canadian boy. Like I wanted to play hockey so bad. We just didn't have the money. Like literally financially, hockey was off the table.
It's a lot of gear.
It's just an expensive sport to play. And when you're young, you gotta every year is new,
There's new gear, new bones that got to be repaired.
Yeah, no, it's crazy. But yeah, they've always been like that with me, but they've also been very lenient if I decided that I didn't want to do it, they weren't forceful, which is a big plus and a big minus. I don't know on the parenting scale if that's the right or the wrong. For me, it worked really well. Because I was able to find the things I really liked for myself and kind of stick with it. And eventually I ended up going back to piano. I went back to piano.
Yeah, tell me about that.
I went back to piano, but I was always, I was cheating. It was weird.
How so?
I didn't know I was cheating, but so I did grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. I was killing it. I was moving really fast. I didn't know that I was cheating because I would always ask the teacher to play me the pieces. So I'd say, play me the piece. She'd play it for me once. And after understanding what was happening, I'd play it. I didn't realize I was playing it all by ear.
Oh, so I wasn't reading the ears.
Yeah. So I wasn't reading the notes anymore. I was just kind of using the paper as a reminder. Oh yeah, there's a flat or there's a sharp there. But as a whole, I would just have her play it and then I'd know what it sounded like. So I'd have a kind of great relative idea of how to play it. And nobody figured it out until I got to my grade 3 exam when the sight reading started to kind of get a little more difficult. And I failed it miserably. And they were like, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. And
you knew, come on.
Well, I knew right there. They were like, well, you can read this fine. And I was like, yeah, I can read it fine because you played it for me and I can hear it. Wow. And they were like, oh, so you're not really reading the notes. I was like, well, that's a C, that's an E, that's a G.
Yeah.
But they were like, okay, play this. And I was like, can you play it for me?
Gotcha. Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So it was a weird thing. So I ended up stopping piano there and just kind of learning by ear. I wish I stayed in piano for the knowledge, and because like now when I'm playing piano, I find that I'm kind of handcuffed sometimes when it comes to chord structures and where I want to go. It takes me a little longer to kind of figure out things because I had like just such a finite amount of knowledge.
Right.
That's the other thing about school. It's like you get handcuffed to these rules as well. And then when you get into the real world, you kind of start to understand that those rules are especially in music, they're more guidelines than rules.
About that.
Yeah, they're more guidelines than rules. And once you come from like a kind of organized ideology of what music is, and then you're put in the real world of like producing, songwriting, singing, it's great to have it, but you have to kind of know when to break out of that box or break the rules in order to, to really start creating.
Do you use music math in your writing? And if so, how does that work?
I do to a certain extent. It's fun. So funny you mentioned that, because today I was this morning, I almost dug into the rabbit hole of that. I dabble with it. I read a couple of articles here and there, but recently I've been really, really into it. So,
Can you explain what music math is to those who may not know? For pop songwriting.
Okay. So Max Martin, one of, if not the greatest pop songwriter of our time. He's coined that phrase. It's music by numbers. Like, paint by numbers, you just kind of paint where the numbers are. It's like music by numbers, and it's different for every song, but the calculation is kind of the same, like where you're using, melodic motifs to kind of motifs to kind of come in and out to create familiarity within the melody. And the math comes in because, these are all you can always attribute notes to numbers, right? Intervals and scales. Intervals are just the distance between notes, right? So here's one thing I kind of look at when I'm writing. If my melody is kind of sitting in the da 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 that's my verse, I want the beginning of my pre-chorus or the next section of my song to start on a different note, to create a little bit of a contrast between the two sections. The music math is also about finding a place where you can be repetitive, something repetitive, within the chords that kind of sit in the right. It's so complicated, and then when you hear it, it's so simple. So it's and I think that's one of the greatest things about writing a amazing pop song, is taking something that's really complex and presenting it in the most simplest form.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you can hear like these Backstreet Boys songs, or the Britney Spears songs, or the NSYNC, pretty much every song that Max has written, they're so easy to listen to. They're so easy to kind of understand. They're easy to play. They're easy to sing. But the complexity behind what is happening with, within the chords, and what's happening with the tensions in the melody, and how, if he's playing this chord, can you hear that?
Yeah. Sounds
so
nice.
he's playing this chord, and he's starting on the third because it's the most pleasing part. It's the most pleasing interval to listen to. Or you're playing the C, and then the melody is hitting at the seventh to create that kind of dissonance. It's an interesting thing. That it's definitely a science, but it's not finite. There's a million possibilities in every case, and I think it's a taste.
Right.
It's a taste, and it's acquired taste. I have this little anecdote. So, if you don't mind. I was working. One of the first sessions I ever had, like a big major session, with these amazing producers named Stargate.
Oh yeah.
They're
Neo, right?
Yep, Neo, Sexy Love, Irreplaceable, Beyonce, amazing producers, and everything they touched at that time was, was gold, platinum, whatever you want to call it. And I was asking them why, especially on the urban side of things, like their urban pop records, like, Sexy Love, Neo, So Sick, we're just spot on, we're spot on. And, obviously a big factor is Neo. He's an amazing songwriter, but sonically they always kind of lock that in. And I was asking them, I was like, why, you guys make great music all around, but when it comes to this R&B, you guys always have that sonic, like that's always there, like that hit quality. what is it you guys are doing? Like, or is it something you guys don't know and you just do it? And they were like, no, we know exactly why we're doing it. And I was like, is it something you can tell me? They're like, yeah. So they are, you know, they were just fans of R&B music first and foremost. So that's what they listen to. But in Norway, before Spotify, before streaming in general, or iTunes streaming in general, you're at the mercy of what the labels are pushing, right? Okay. You're at the mercy of what's on the top charts, Billboard specifically. And in the States, we had, you know, or North America rather, there was an abundance of R&B music, you know? You could have gone anywhere from D'Angelo, Musiq Soulchild, that neo soul, Erykah Badu, that era. Even, you know, you can go to Jodeci, Boys to Men, Shy, H-Town. And you can even go deeper and deeper into that R&B hole where, you know, there's more obscure references. But in Norway, if you want R&B, you're really only hearing the R&B that's hitting the top 10, maybe the top 5, because that's all the best of the best. So what they were saying was, to us, that was our only point of reference for R&B.
Okay.
Hit R&B records, not cool, not underground cult classics, you know. And there's not, you know, carte blanche, hit records. Hit popular records, the sonic quality that dictated a hit record. And they were like, that was our point of reference. So anytime we are making something, we're always reaching for that. And
it's like a higher standard, maybe.
If all you hear is hit records, all you're going to make is hit records, you know?
Wow.
It's a weird thing. Like, now it's a little bit different now because there's so much to choose from in music. You know, there's so many genres and subgenres, and now like genre blending and genre bending. You know, radio is still very, you know, there's a format and there's something, but there's a lot more outliers than there was before in that sense. But a lot, you know, the majority of people are consuming music, you know, on their phones or on their computers, right? Through a Bluetooth speaker or whatever. So it's a little harder to pinpoint. You still know a hit when it's a hit. But there's a lot more options now. You know, there's a lot more options, a lot more ways to, you know, you're hearing a lot more different structurally songs that are structurally being made. Now you have this new resurgence in like pop, alt rock, emo meets hip hop, R&B, right? It's like 5 different genres in one, and it's cool. It's great, and I think it's a great evolution for music. But back then, you know, you're getting those. That's what they were listening to.
The best of the best.
Yeah, and that was their point of reference. So it makes sense, right? If all you hear is greatness, you're gonna be great.
It reminds me of an idea I had where I was like, I should only listen to the best for a while of multiple genres. Like, what are the top 50 blues records? What are the top 50 reggae records? What are the top greatest songwriters of all time? Just to put into my mind only the best for a while, kind of just surround myself with the best art, the best music. What are the top books that I need to read?
Right.
What do you think of that idea?
No, for sure. I love that idea. I always have this thing where, you know, it's subject. There's a subjective side to any creative, you know, or to any art form. There's always a subjective. Like, you know, some people don't like the Mona Lisa. You know, some people aren't a big fan of Monet, or some people aren't a big fan of Picasso or whatever. But when I think back on and that's a newer thought that I've had, because, you know, I you know, as you dig deeper into your creative, you're like, oh, I want more. But when I first started, you know, lots of people, I grew up around a lot of heavy musicians. I went to school for choir and opera music originally.
Oh, wow.
In high school. Yeah. So I did, you know, sacred music, chorale, and opera. Like, I was singing in German, Latin, Italian, like all types of stuff.
Is this after high school?
No, this was actually in high school. I went to a performing arts high school.
Oh man.
And that was like, it was a major part of our curriculum. So I could drop like a computer course or something because I got double credits for my music program because it was so intense. It was like we do regular classes, but our music classes were double the length of any of the class. So if our math class was like an hour, hour 20, our music class was about, at least an hour 40, 2 hours a day. Wow. of music class. And then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we had hour and a half rehearsals. And then if we had recitals, which we always had, or competition, we rehearsed 5 days a week. So it was so much.
Getting your reps in for sure.
Yeah. It was so intense. And I was considering doing opera and classical music in university because my teacher was leaving to teach at the university, and she was like, "You should come." And I was just like, "No, I'm not doing. I don't know if I want to do that." And I wanted to be a pop singer, like an R&B singer. So I went to school for jazz after. I went to this school here called Humber. I majored in vocal jazz, and I thought it was going to be this kind of like, this bohemian like flow, like very abstract and improvisational. Dude, it was more structure, more scales, more discipline, to get to, with the understanding to get to the point of a Chick Corea or a Chet Baker or any of these jazz greats, Miles Davis, understanding like fully the fundamentals of what you're playing to get to that musical freedom. So yeah, I was like, I'm do it. And during my last recital, my teacher pulled me aside and she said, "Great job. Do you want to be a jazz singer?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to be a jazz singer." She's like, "Well, what do you want to be?" I was like, "Well, I want to be a pop R&B star." Really? And she was like, "Okay," because she was like, "You take every jazz song and you turn it into a pop song." I was like,
"Okay."
And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's the way I sing. That's where I lean." She was like, "Well, we're at a jazz school," and she was like, "If you want to be a jazz singer, I can teach you to be a great jazz singer. I can teach you that. I can show you that if you want to be a jazz singer. But if you don't want to be a jazz singer and you want to be a pop singer, I can't teach you that. And if that's where that's your final goal, that's where you want to be." She was like, "I don't think you should be at the school." She was like, "You're not going to learn what you want to learn. You'll learn how to be a great jazz singer and you'll apply if you apply yourself. But if that's not what you want to do, I don't suggest you." She was like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "I just wanted to learn." She's like, "But if your final thing, if your end goal is to be a pop singer, this isn't going to, I can't teach you that. I can't teach you that. You'll be fighting your internally all the time." She's like, "I think you should drop out."
What? And where did you go from there?
I took a year off. I was a waiter, hanging out, chilling, going to the club.
What restaurant?
Well, I was working at the mall actually. It was called Diana Suites in this area of Toronto called Scarborough. And then I went to school for sound engineering. I went to this.
How old are you about this time? This is early 20s?
Yeah, early 20s. I went to this school called the Harris Institute, and it was basically a recording studio with a couple of classrooms upstairs, and then the majority of your classes were in the studio. And it was great for me because everything was applied. I had a class, it was called, Synthesis 101, right? Nice. And it was learning how to work a synthesizer and how to create sonics with oscillators. And my teacher was the guy who did all the synth work on Dark Side of the Moon for Pink Floyd.
Oh,
no,
it's one of my all-time favorite records.
Crazy. His name, if you look at the back of the album, it says all synths done by Don Garbett. That was my teacher, and he'd make synth orchestrations on an ARP 2600 just by
Wow. I didn't even know they had a sound designer. But they're ahead of their time and thinking, "Hey, we need a sound designer."
He was the guy. We had guys who were managing, who managed old school rock stuff like Blue Rodeo. There was one of my production teachers. He was Jack Richardson, who produced American Woman.
Oh,
The Guess Who?
Guess Who? Yep.
He did Alice Cooper.
You got a rich background, man.
Yeah, his son mixed Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's
another favorite band of mine.
Yeah, so a great school to learn like the foundations of everything, and so that's what I ended up. Yeah, that's where I ended up.
Were you writing the whole time? Were you writing
the whole time? I was still writing. I was still producing. I had like a Dell computer, and I was running Cakewalk, and I was making beats. And
Cakewalk.
Yeah,
I was about to say, when did you start writing?
I started writing really young, maybe. I mean, I was in elementary school, and I can remember I had like a notebook of like poems or like poems or stanzas that I would sing. Around 17, 18. No. Yeah, around 17 and 18, I had a singing group in high school, and we started writing songs for that group. So we started writing songs together for that. That's when I really started kind of getting into the songwriting and production side of things.
And how'd you learn about songwriting and production?
Just like, just doing it, just going in, playing stuff. My first few songs were horrible. I think like everybody else's. But
you remember any names of what's your worst song you ever wrote in your life?
Oh, I think the worst song I've ever wrote actually has come because those songs were made out of like complete inspiration, so whether they were technically bad or, lyrically kind of cheesy, those songs had at least an honest quality about it. I think if I think about, and they were inspired because it was so new. It was such a new thing. So there's a quality about those songs when I listen back, even though they're kind of cringeworthy, there's an honest quality about it that, they need work but I've written my worst songs that I've written are songs where I was, kind of trying too hard. Trying too hard to make a hit. Like when intention goes completely wrong.
When intention goes.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be one of the headlines here, like a little highlight clip.
Yeah, when intention goes completely wrong, when you lose the whole, you lose the flow and everything is just a calculated mess of, like, okay, now it's too obvious, I think
how do you get around that though, August? How do you, because we all try and be too epic at times. So how do you balance that craft and inspiration?
I don't know. I guess for me, it's more of a trial and error thing. And then also a feeling, at the end of the day, the song has to give me a feeling. And those songs I felt, I obviously thought they were good enough to kind of finish and shop around. But when I listen back to them and think the feeling is gone, everything everything was like a, and this, it was just so whack. There's only just whack. So yeah, I think you just have to write through those, to write through that, because everybody wants to do that. You want to make those hits. I mean, I did. You got to get through. You got to just write through that. You write enough songs that you get to a point where you just want something great and you want something to give you that feeling again. And you're studying, like along the way, you're studying great songs and you're studying these songs. And sometimes you just lose it. You lose your way, and then you find your way back to it. And you start to realize, here it is. And then it kind of all comes together, like all that wrong intention, all those like really bad parts of songs that you were kind of trying too hard. You realize, okay, there was something I was trying to do that I just wasn't nailing. And then you nail it one day and you're like, that's it. That's the balance, It's all about a balance, I think, with these songs, and like if a song on the surface is shallow, you know, maybe something in the underlying, maybe musical quality of it, that's where the depth is coming in to kind of even out that kind of shallow lyric maybe, or the melody is so contagious that you don't need something so heavy on the lyrical side, or maybe you need something heavy on the lyrical side to compensate for I don't want to say lack, because lack means it feels bad, but for lack of a better word, lack of melodic differentiation. So you have something that's very complicated lyrically, but it needs a simpler melody to get that message across, you know? So finding that balance is key. And I think that only comes through either you're really, really lucky, just spot on there, or just writing through a bunch of really whack songs until you kind of start to get that balance. It takes time. I've gotten lucky sometimes and just nailed it. More often than not, and the funny thing is, you in between those lucky songs, you're kind of writing crappy. Oh, not bad. Bam, that's the one. Cool. And then you're doing it again, and your ratio gets higher and higher. And when I say lucky, I think, you know, I'm just writing so much that, you know, the skill set kind of just grows to this, and then you get one, and you're like, cool, that's one. That's where it kind of culminated, and then it kind of starts all over again, to be honest.
How did you learn the craft? Were there people who were dropping knowledge to you? Were you reading books, or was it just through pure writing your way through it?
You know, if I was to say I had like I don't think I ever had like a songwriting mentor in terms of like who I was looking to. I had people like, you know, obviously like Max Martin, and, you know, and songs that I loved. And then I didn't even necessarily know the songwriters. I had songs that I loved, that I wanted to write songs like that gave me a feeling like that. So yeah, that was my education in songwriting, just listening and understanding the lyrical, you know, the lyrical.
Break them down?
Oh, I break them down all the time.
So you'd be like, okay, there's like one motif, and then they recycle the end, and then there's a tag. You kind of reverse engineer it.
So I've only now, like, I've always loved melody, but melody has always been it's weird. It's usually the first thing for most writers, the melody in it, and I believe it's definitely key. I was always lyrically like hellbent on a lyric. Lyric first. Yeah, when I write to inspire a great melody, I need a great lyric. That's more often than not, that's how I write. So I need a great lyric for that melody to have a cadence on. And that's, once I have a great lyric, I can kind of spit it out. Yeah. Lately, my process has changed over time. So now when I'm writing a song, I still do that. I still want my great lyric to kind of catapult the idea of the song. But what I'm now doing is curating. So I will write a whole song. I'll spit it out. Might take me like 20 minutes, and oh my gosh, this song is done.
It's quick.
It's not great, but it's done.
It's a first draft.
Yeah, it might take 20 minutes to get that first draft. And then if I love it, if I'm already like, oh, this is it, sometimes you catch it and you're great. But now I'm going in and I'm curating, okay, this is cool. Can this be better? Can this be framed better? Right. You know, I frame this idea better. Is this better if it's happening on the pickup? If it's happening on the end of 4 as opposed to right on the 1? Okay. Gotcha. Okay, now it's sounding better. Now, oh, that feels good coming in. That's got a great energy now. Oh, but I feel like now it needs to be extended. Okay, now we need to change the lyric a bit. Oh, we need to change the melody a bit. And I'm tailoring the songs to get them to a point where I'm like, there's no holes for me. And again, that's a subjective thing, but I'm just picking apart my songs until I find there's no holes in them.
Sounds like you're a really good editor now of your own work.
I'm trying. There was a time where I was like, oh, my first line is the best. And then there's times where I'm like, oh, I'm the worst. I can't write anything. Now I'm a little more even keel about, that process. And, again, I'm trying to find the right intention for every song and the best way to package something. You know, I'm hell bent on a concept all the time. Like I want my songs to have a concept. I very rarely write something, you know, kind of free flowing. Unless that's the intent of that song. Like I just wanted to be, you know, something vibey, but I like to cradle my song with a concept. I like to cradle it with a phrase or something that's, especially that if I can find something that's very conversational, that's something that's something you say naturally.
Right.
You know, and then if I can find something cliche, that's, you know, but present that cliche a little bit differently
in a new way.
That's the best, because it's such, everybody gets that punchline, you know, everybody gets it, but when you present it in a certain way, it, you know, there's a certain brilliance to it. And I've only come across that a few times in my life in terms of songwriting. But once you kind of get it and you present it in that, like, it's all about the packaging, right? We've all these songs, it's regurgitated, all these chords, there's, you know, they've progressions, they've all been done, you know, it's all there for us. It's the packaging. How do you present this? How do you present this to the world? Make it, you know, make it new, you know, how do you say I love you, you know, another way? So
that's amazing, man.
That's kind of what goes through my head on a regular basis when I'm writing these songs.
What are your top 3 tips to creating ultra catchy melodies?
Okay, 1, big intervals. High to low, low to high. They're easy to kind of catch. They're easy to understand. And they just kind of ingrain in your brain really easy. Like the, you know, even just singing that right now, that, you know, having those jumps and intervals, I find are really key. They create a quick contrast, and, you know, also it's note dependent, but, you know, pleasing intervals like, you know, like those jumps, 1-4, 1-5, 1-6, they always kind of get in there. So I think that's one, intervals. Those intervals in your catchy hooks are really key.
Some leaps.
Yeah, some leaps for sure. Interesting rhythms are always great too. Interesting rhythms. Now we have, like, you know, the triplet is so predominant right now in urban music and, you know, pop music. It's always been there, but it's kind of highlighted right now. So modern writing, I guess in modern writing, I try to incorporate something like, you know, especially if you can kind of flip it and have it in an interesting place. But these, you know, right? Like normally you'll have it, you know, normally your triplets are happening, you know, the obvious places that you'd hear them. You can find somewhere in your melodic structure that you can fit it, and it doesn't function in that way, but it's that rhythm is there. Finding interesting places for well-known things is cool. Like it's like another way to, it's like if you can find a way to say I love you in another way, it's good. So finding those interesting pockets to figure to place something familiar.
I see. So it's almost like you're remixing a familiar rhythm in a new way, would you say?
Right. Yeah, okay. For sure. That one's a little complex to kind of wrap your head around, because sometimes if something's never been done before, it usually means it's not that good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a reason why.
There's a reason why it's not been done, because it's not that good. But yeah, interesting rhythms is always great. To balance, it's about balance, right?
Balance.
Yeah.
Number 3, what would you say?
Number 3 in a catchy chorus. Lyrically, I think having something easy to say. You know, you can't. it can't be too complex. If it's too complicated, you've already lost everybody. So this might be a 2-part answer. If you're getting to your chorus and you have too much to say, maybe you haven't said enough in your verses and your pre's. No?
Okay.
Your chorus should just kind of round out the whole song. You're not.
Gotcha.
It should kind of have a central idea already. You know.
Right.
It shouldn't be just, you know. And again, subjective. This changes from song to song, but on a whole, you know, you want your chorus to be simple. You want your chorus to be simple and easily remembered. So however way you can get that across. And listen, once you start writing these songs and start playing them for people, you can see, especially, and play them for people who aren't musicians. Because a lot of the times we're writing, I'm guilty of it. I'm writing stuff to impress other producers and other writers sometimes. Like, wait. That's not what I'm trying to do. You're not trying to impress other musicians. We are 5%, maybe 2% of the listening public, because we don't listen to music the same way anymore. You know, as a creator, I don't listen. It's one of the things that I regret about being being in the music industry and being a music creator. I don't listen to music the same way I used to.
How do you listen to it?
I listen to it I listen to it like with a fine-tooth comb.
Are you reverse engineering everything you're hearing?
Every time. Especially new music. And I only listen to new music now as a study. It's so bad. Sometimes I'll hit something and I'll love it so much that I just won't even bother. Things that I love, that I absolutely love, I won't listen to it as much as I normally do because I don't want to ruin it. Like, wow. I like listening to SZA. I like SZA's like type of R&B. I like her writing approach. I like that whole thing. I don't listen to her a lot because I don't want to sit there and dissect it the way. Now, eventually I will, but every time I hear a SZA song, I'm like, oh yeah, this is fire, and I don't get to the point where I'm dissecting it. I'm just like, I'm enjoying it.
So you can turn it off, right? You can turn off the dissection.
I can, but
not easy.
The more I listen to it, the more I just end up getting there. I end up for leisure, I end up listening to a lot of old music, a lot of old stuff, a lot of the stuff that I grew up with, like the Jodeci. I listen to like D'Angelo, you know, that Brown Sugar album, I think is one of the, you know, the greatest. Lauryn Hill's album. Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. Amazing. On a songwriting tip, here's another thing. I love listening to country music. I listen to country. In the last few months, I've listened to country playlists more than anything because they're still lyric based, you know, even though there's a lot of talking about a truck and my whiskey and they punchlines are incredible. You know, historically always been, but there's still a very huge focus on that lyric in country music. And that's what I love about them. It's a great lyric cradled by an incredible melody, and it just makes you feel like, it's, you know, there's a couple of great country songs now. There's one called Breaking More Hearts Than Mine. Ingrid Andress.
I've heard the name.
That's the version I like. I don't know who's the original. I mean, also country is, you know, some people are like country singer-songwriters, and then some of these songs are like old country songs that kind of get regurgitated and redone. It's so good. Yeah. That, like, my favorite song, probably top 3, is I Can't Make You Love Me, Bonnie Raitt.
Oh, yeah.
That's
a lot of R&B artists like that song.
I mean, it's that R&B country music. I find they share a lot of musical similarities. They share a lot of the same qualities.
What's the thread that ties them together?
I think it's the inflections, the riffs, the freedom in the in the singing quality. You know, there's a freedom in how they're singing these songs. They couldn't be more different in terms of like the spectrum, maybe.
Right.
Somewhere along that line, there's a huge similarity, and it's soulful in its own way. It's, you know, it has a spirit. It has a spirit about it. The country music and the R&B music, it has a spirit about it. Yeah, I've always said that. I've said that since I was young. And to me, it holds true. Like, you know, I love R&B and I like country. So
nice. Well, no wonder your lyrics are so fire, because
I mean, I
studying craftsman.
I'm trying. I want that. You know, I want to be great, and I think the only way to do that is to study these great songs, man. Yeah. I listen to a lot of Eagles.
Oh yeah,
Eagles, amazing.
One of the best.
I like the big '80s ballad too. You know, I like Journey.
Yeah.
You know, Christopher Cross.
You got some yacht rock on your playlist.
Those are great songs, man. I don't care what anyone says. I love them too. Songs, and they do it for me.
I'm already sold on it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Speaking of career, I got this concept here. What would Rigo do? What would August Rigo do? Here's a scenario. Let me paint it for you.
Yep.
3 or 4 collaborators in a studio. You got an artist, songwriter, producer. You're in there. You guys are all vibing. Everybody's loving the chorus. But you think it's pretty good in your mind. You're like, yeah, it's pretty good. But you know you got that fire. You have an idea in your head. How do you present that idea when everyone's kind of sold on this other thing, and you think you got something that's even more fire?
I record it myself. Yo, like, and I'll do it like I would.
How would you bring this up? Like
I would say, like, yo, this is fire. I do this. All right, let me throw a wrench in the plan, and can I try and I always kind of preface it like, yo, let's be open with this. Let me try something. Let me try something real quickly. I'll do this. Let me go, and I won't do it in front of everybody either. Man, I like the idea of collaboration. I don't like collaboration. It's weird. It's a weird thing. I love sharing the room with people and making music. But when it comes to like the actual songwriting, I like to kind of fiddle through my ideas myself so that I can present it the way I see it. Sometimes when I'm creating it, and I don't get the right energy from like the rip, like maybe I record the first line and I'm not feeling the right energy, and it affects my process. I'm super sensitive in that way, and I can't help it. So I like to kind of go away, do my thing, come back, and this is what I think it should sound like. And here it is. And then at the very least, and I'm not sensitive after when somebody's like, I don't like it. That's cool. But I do want to, and I've never said it, and I've never put this situation, I've never kind of figured it out, and this has helped me figure this out. I want to present my idea the way I hear it in my head. So at least it can be judged the right way, in the right light. You know,
so does that mean you want to like mix the vocal a certain way before you even show?
Yeah, I mean, even like mix, cool, but like just at least a rough idea of like, you know, this is what I think, you know, to show the potential of the idea, just so that it's seen in the right light. You know, all the lyrics together, you know, melodic form, maybe some harmonies to kind of highlight specific areas, but I want the idea to have a fair shot. Gotcha. You know. So yeah, that's what I would do. And I do that like when I'm doing these Zoom recording sessions, if I'm in a group or with a group of people that allow me to do that, I'm always able to come with a good song, you know, at least a good song. I can kind of be like, oh, this is great. We talk about the song. Oh, what do you want to, oh, you know, we should be like this. And as we're talking about it, I'm formulating these ideas and listening to the beat, getting a structure in my head. Be like, okay, cool. Can you give me 20 minutes? You know, you guys work on the beat or kick it. Give me 20 minutes. Let me write this first verse out and see if I can kind of find a direction for it. I'll go in, I'll write the first verse, maybe first verse into the hook or something and be like, yo, here's the song. And then we can kind of pick it apart from there. But I want to make sure that I get the idea out, because I feel like, yeah, if I'm this excited about it in my head, there's got to be a reason. And I want to make sure that it gets judged in the right light. You know, it gets shot down before, because demoitis is a real thing. People can hear it one time, be like, oh, that's the way it goes. And then sometimes it's hard for people to hear it any differently.
Gotcha.
Good or bad. They're just, it's the familiarity. You know, that's another thing about the songwriting thing. If you can create familiarity with something that's totally new, you're right on the right path, because the brain wants that. The brain is actually anticipating what's happening next in the music. I have this book that I refer to all the time, go back and forth. It's called This Is Your Brain on Music. And that's one of the parts it touches on. Your brain is anticipating what's happening. So you're hearing this melody and your brain wants to hear this. And then if it hears that, it's satisfied and it's like, oh yeah, that's what I want, and it sticks. And then there's like the extraordinary circumstances where your brain is anticipating and wants to hear this, and then you flip it and you take it somewhere else and realize that's really where you wanted it to go. You know, that's where it really felt good.
Surprise.
And it's like surprise. And listen to these great songs that I'll say this and it's hard to understand, but when you go back and listen to songs, or when you hear something new and it does something, you'll understand that feeling. As a songwriter, you'll chase that feeling forever.
Getting those goosebumps. Yeah,
if you can give yourself goosebumps when you're writing it, yeah, okay, that you're on the right path.
Wow, you're dropping some gems, man. What's been the most fulfilling moment you think of your career?
So I had this song for 2 years. It's Chris Brown, Back to Sleep. I had the song for 2 years. And when I wrote it, I was like, yo, this is fire. I wrote it with Boy Wonder. He thought it was fire. Boy Wonder Vinyls and Alan Ritter, amazing producers. And yo, it sat in my laptop for years. I sent it to everybody and nobody was hearing it. And maybe it's because I was cold, or maybe it was because nobody cared about what I had to say at the time. You know, the writer thing is like the artist and the producer thing. You know, if you're the hot writer, people hear your songs differently. All these A&Rs will tell you, oh, I'll listen to music. If it's a hit, it's a hit. Nah. If you hear the beat is from Timbaland and the song is by Max Martin, you hear that different. You trust it more. We listen to something from Pharrell, and Pharrell will make some weird stuff, but it's Pharrell. Yeah. When you know it's from Pharrell, you trust it because he has a track record. Now, if you hear something from somebody, they're like, a lot of the times people do. They may lie to you, but they do. They'll hear it. It's different. They hear it different. Yeah. So, but anyways, I had the song Back to Sleep, and I just knew I loved it so much, and I heard it a billion times. And when they finally, I don't know how or when it was the turning point on it, but 2 years later, it gets to Chris Brown and he records it and it comes out. And for me, I'm, again, like I've said earlier in this interview, I'm an R&B fan. Like I started out doing, getting a lot of pop cuts, but I'm at the very core of me, my first instinct is to write an R&B song and, R&B. So there's always for me, when I got into the music industry, I always say this too, I didn't understand that my race was going to be playing a part in what type of music people expected me to do. I'm Filipino, I'm not black, I'm not white, I'm not Hispanic. I'm Filipino, I'm Asian, whatever they want to call it. And when I got into the industry, I was fully R&B. Like that's all I was kind of thinking and singing and writing. People did not know what to the music industry didn't know kind of what box to put me in, because they hadn't seen somebody like me or heard somebody, you know, that I did what I did. So, you know, even down to like my own management, you know, was confusing me, because like, oh, you can't sing this song, it's too much bottom end, it's too urban, oh, this is too pop, or this is too this. So I was kind of, you know, lost in the sauce for a minute, because I just didn't know what people wanted from me, and the wrong way to look at things. It's just the wrong thing. But the music industry wants to put you in a box. They want to keep you, they want to be able to categorize you. Especially before streaming. Now that box is broken. You know, people can put Chris Brown can do a pop song, kind of pop rockish song, dance song, super R&B, trap. He's rapping.
Anything can go.
Let's go, you know, let's go. And that's I think it's great for the music. I think it's great for creativity. But, you know, for me coming up, people would look at me and just kind of put me in that box and be this, you know, oh, you know, he writes pop. So every session I got after I was doing that first, you know, One Direction, Bieber, Sean Kingston, which were all pop-ish records.
Right.
Pop records, you know. Oh, you know what? He does great with kids songs. Give him all the sessions for kids under 15, you know, or 16-year-old pop records, you know. And then I came around and I ended up executive producing a Musiq Soulchild record, which was, you know, you know, one of my idols. You know, I grew up listening to Musiq Soulchild, and I would say that was, you know, one of the great moments. But this one specifically, because of just being in the music industry and losing myself so many times in the, you know, in what I wanted to do. When I wrote that song, I was, you know, I had come from, you know, making huge amounts of money, going through this transition, and, you know, having a fallout with my management, being kind of, you know, swindled out of a lot of deals and a lot of money. And then, and then I was home. I was here. I mean, I was literally in this basement with no money in my account anymore. Like I was at $0, you know, broke again after making tons of money, bro. Like after selling, I don't know, 50 million records. I had 50
what
million
happened to the money, man? Your manager took it? Or were you wilding out a little bit at the club?
Okay, so
popping bottles?
I definitely did that. I definitely spent a lot of money at the club. I bought a lot of expensive clothes. But that, you know, I was robbed. I was kind of like, I was swindled. I was kind of screwed over, basically. You know, I did a lot of work for, you know, artists and helped develop things. And it just, you know, you know, a lot of it was my fault because I didn't take care of business the way I should have. And then, you know, my response to everything was emotional as opposed to, you know, just really being about my business. And I allowed people to take advantage of me. And, you know, it was what it was. It was my fault because I allowed them to do what they did. And, you know, I take accountability for that. But at the end of the day, I was broke. I was down and out. But I came home and I wrote this, you know, still able to take, you know, with all that in stride, I was able to kind of like get myself to write this song that I loved. And I was at a point where I just didn't want to be in the music anymore. You know, I was so hurt. I was so damaged. And, you know, it's, you know, for everybody else, it's like, yeah, it's a great song. For me, it was like a great turning point for myself to say that, you know, even at my lowest point, I'm still able to write something that was worthy. And even though it took 2 years for it to come out, I was still able to write something worthy enough to, you know, take a #1 spot on the charts and, you know, play all over the world and, you know, and have an artist, you know, of the caliber of Chris Brown actually want to record it. You know, that actually led me to, you know, I got to meet Chris Brown and hang out with him and, you know, in studio, I got to go to his house and write with him. And, you know, just, I don't ever really get to meet artists like that. I usually write songs and send them out and, you know, they get chosen. You know, that was a great experience for me and a great kind of turning point in terms of, you know, just being able to come back come back from like a real bad spot.
That's incredible, man. This whole story has led me to a question I think that really matches this. When and how do you bring up business with a new collaborative partner? 'Cause I know as artists, it can be very awkward and you just want to, all right, let's jump into it. But at what point?
I'm the worst at that. I want to get in, create music, and, you know, hope that everybody's honest with, you know, where everyone's worth and what everybody should be compensated for. When I get into a writing session, for example, I try to keep like certain rules. Like if I'm in a writing session and there's 3 writers in the room and a producer, the producer is kind of, it depends on what's happening, but the producer says, here's my beat. You like this? Yeah, let's go. So, and we go, us 3 writers write a song, and the producer is, you know, takes over the production and does pretty much the majority of the musical bed instrumental idea. You know, the song is split into 2. So I get that more often than not, the producer will take the 50% of that song because he's making the music. And then because we took care of the lyrics and melody, we're 3 writers, we'll split that writing 3 ways, split the 50% 3 ways. And, you know, it's good. That's fair. If it's a collaborative effort, we have like, you know, we're all in the room and we're making the stuff. Because the way, you know, producers usually get paid the advance, right? On the song. Songwriters, top liners, lyric and melody people, we don't historically get paid. It's a weird, archaic system in the music industry, but it stands today. It's a topic of discussion. But, you know, whatever. It is what it is right now. Things are changing, but not fast enough. But it is what it is. You know, we gotta, you know, he's still working. But if you're all in the room and we're all creating, and it's just like a big kind of love fest of making music, I don't find any problem with, even if I'm the producer, let's just split it down the middle and let's like give everybody equal pieces. Like we're not gonna pick, oh yeah, I did the chorus, well I did like 3 words in here. Like that just ruins it all.
Do you say that before the session starts, or do you start talking about that after?
You know what? Usually, more often than not, again, it always comes after. Yeah. And then that's where the problem is, because it's weird, man. You walk into a room, you wanna, okay, here's the split sheets. You know, it automatically becomes something really corporate, and that's why it's so key to like really, you know, you want to collaborate with people that you're good with, you know, that you enjoy collab, that you would hang out with on a regular basis. Yeah. As opposed to just being thrown in a room with people. I like writing songs by myself, but I also don't shy away from giving a piece of my songwriting percentage to the artist who has to go out and perform the song. Like, okay, cool. Like, I'm down for it if that's what you need to feel a little bit of entitlement to that song, a connection to that song. It's cool. You know, if that 5% is makes that much money for you, then there's enough money there that we're all making money. You know, gotcha. There's enough to go around. So some songwriters are real precious about it, and yeah, rightfully so. We've written these songs and, you know, sheer grit, but I don't know. I'm generous, man. Like I'm down to share to do what's best for the song, you know?
I'm super curious about this because I'm nowhere near at your level, but like I always wonder, like these big songwriting sessions, at what point so at the very end, you guys bust out the split sheets, and is that how does that work? And then who registers it? Who registers? So
sometimes if you're in like a writing camp, you know, walking in, there's like, you're kind of in an agreement. Everybody that's in this session, so you're doing a session a day, and usually in these writing camps, and everybody in this session, everybody's gonna get equal parts of the publishing, of the writing percentage, and it's like, all right. Which is fine, which is totally fine. You know, it's a collaborative effort. We're all there. The song, even if you wrote 1 word, or even if you wrote nothing, your energy in that room was contributing to whatever was being created that day. So that's the way I chalk it up to. I rarely get into rooms and there's split sheets there and just they're writing down. It's a buzzkill. Yeah, it is a buzzkill. It's probably, you know, it's probably good to do it, get it over with, maybe agree to it before you walk in. But things change, you know. Sometimes, okay, song's done, and you get another writer to come in and write a new verse, or the artist takes it and wants to do its own thing, and flip the chorus a bit, or producer gets another producer to redo drums or redo the key.
Right. Whose responsibility is it at the end of the day to get it signed after, like, say, the song is done?
After the song's done, it's usually the label or the management, or the artist management, because then at the end of the day, it goes, okay, the artist wants this song. Okay. So now it's up to their team, whoever, manager, assistant, engineer sometimes, to go out and make sure everybody's cool. Okay, yo, you're good with 20%. This is the splits. This is what we've arranged. Does this seem fair to you? I think I should get 25. And
that's how that works.
And so you kind of go down the line there, and when it happens, like sometimes, you know, the song will be out already, and then the claim at your songwriting society is 130%, and everybody's money gets held up because I got 40% of the song. He has 40% of the song. He has 40% of the song, and it's like there's not enough. There's not enough song.
What's the most valuable piece of advice you would give to someone? They just graduated high school and they come up and say, August, hey man, how can I have a career as a pop songwriter and producer?
Well, I would say the first is, you know, do you have, like, you got to ask yourself these questions if you're trying to get into the industry. Do you have, you know, are you good? You know, self-awareness is probably the big umbrella here. Self-awareness and an understanding of your capabilities, your potential, and how much you're willing to work to exceed that potential, or get to that potential rather, or exceed it, whatever one you want to do. But, you know, there is kind of guidelines, I guess I can put forth to follow. Like, you want to have, it's a job, you know, to be a song, it's a job. So in order to get the job, you know, you want to have a resume. So if you don't have experience in the professional songwriting world, you got to show a skill set. So in your resume is the songs that you've written. So if you're not a singer, you got to get somebody to sing these songs that you wrote, because you have to have something tangible to show somebody.
Right.
And that's going to be your first step into entering into a conversation about, like, if you were to approach me, yo, August, I want to be a songwriter, I want to do what you do. My first question is, yo, do you have some stuff? Let me hear it. You know, let me hear it. I got into the industry pre-YouTube, pre-SoundCloud, my introduction was before all this. You were able to jump into a Zoom session, or email somebody, or Instagram famous TikTok. I literally sat outside of the record labels in New York City. I'd drive down from Toronto, and I would stand in front of the record labels, and I would hand out CDs. If you looked like you were in the music industry and you were going into the Universal building, you probably got a CD from me.
Did that work at all?
It worked after 4 years of doing it.
Ask some commitment.
So I would literally stand out there. Rain, sleet, snow, winter, summer, spring. I was there. I would get a meeting sometimes. Sometimes I'd get a session. I was going back to New York for 4 years. Like, this is not a lie. Everybody that knows me, that has seen me in those, and the same executives that are now executives, they were the assistants and they were interns. And when I got a meeting, or I got into the building by, you know, chatting up somebody and played them a song, you know, those assistants, they were the homies. Like, they'd always, I didn't have a lot of money, but they always had free, like, swag. Like, I always came out with, like, a bunch of free soda or free energy drinks and stuff like that. So that, you know, for my drive home, I didn't have to buy energy drinks. I had a box of energy drinks in the bag.
Hey.
I always got a box of promo CDs from the promo CD guy, the guy that was in charge of the promo room. He'd always give me a box of CDs so that when I got home, I could sell these promo CDs to the used CD shop for like $3-5 a piece, and make a couple $100.
Wow.
So that's what I was doing, and meeting executives, I met artists, I met people, and one of the guys that ended up being the manager at my previous manager at the time, that took me from nobody to songwriter, writing for Justin Bieber. I met him outside of the Universal office. I recognized his face from Source magazine. And I approached him. I said, hey, I know you like one of these, because we had like some sort of email
exchange
or something about a beat. And I was like, I know you like our song. I got more songs. And we got a meeting, and I was in a position to be like, I want you to manage me. And he told me to move out to New Jersey, and I moved to New Jersey, and that's kind of like what catapulted me into the kind of music industry. But if you want to know how I got in, or how I kind of pushed that door open, is because I stood in front of this, I stood in front of the building with a stack of CDs.
Wow.
So yeah, back to that question, like, what do you do? Like, whatever you can. So yeah, you need your songs, you need repertoire, you need that resume so that you can show somebody what you can do and what your abilities are, and so you can show your potential. Because everybody says they want to be a songwriter, everybody says they want to be a producer, but if you don't have anything to show for that, that means you're just saying it. Because we live in a world now where you can download everything for free that you need to create this music. Yeah, I have a big studio here with a bunch of keyboards and great microphones and a heavy duty computer, but man, you can with a little laptop and the internet, you can make something exactly the same that I'm making.
Yeah,
you can make that at a high quality now. So there's no excuse to not have music to show for. And then at the very least, it's a great first step, because if you can get somebody to listen to your songs, then you can have a point of reference. This probably sucks, or damn, you're really good.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really good, people will see it. If you suck, people will see that too. And then you can start to learn, and you can start to figure out, why does this suck? Why don't people like my music? And you have to be able to take criticism. And again, it's a subjective thing. Some people love it, some people hate it, but you have to be able to take criticism and take it with a grain of salt, and be able to adapt and work and work hard at it. The music industry isn't for the faint of heart, man. It's a heartbreaking place to be, especially if you love it. And the majority of the people, I think everybody in the music industry loved at one point or another, loved the music. So be ready for that. But also the flip side of it is it's incredibly rewarding, because it's deeper than getting a paycheck. You're doing music, you're writing music, it's like 3 minutes and I would say 3 minutes and 30 seconds can change your life as a songwriter or producer. Change, and when I did Bieber, when I originally did Bieber, we were about to lose this house. We were in a lot of financial trouble. I wasn't working. I was running around in New York, and, my parents were struggling here, and we were about to lose, there's this, and, 3 minutes and 30 seconds has changed my life forever, for good. Wow. So it can happen, and, you just got to work at it. But yes, that's my biggest advice is, you have to have something to show for it. You have to have something.
Thank you, August. This has been incredible, man. You've been so generous, man. So
thank you, man. No, of course.
Where can we point your new fans? Anything you'd like to promote?
I have a new song called "It's Not Fair" featuring my homie Timothy. Actually, it's Tim Chantarangsu now, formerly Tim De La Ghetto. He's most popular from Wild and Out. And then I have, if you go to my Instagram, that's where I promote most of my music, which is Augamatic, yep. AUGAMATIC. And then anywhere else, like if you Google August Rigo, that's, check me out on Spotify or Apple Music. Just listen to the music, man. I'm putting out a whole bunch of new records this year. So, I feel like I'm in my bag. I feel like I've got a good kind of energy behind it. And it's the music that I've always wanted to do, finally at a point where I'm just doing the music that I want to do with no kind of outside influence to it being like, oh, is this pop or is this R&B enough? It's just what I want to do. So I'm excited. If you guys want to take a listen and kind of jump on the journey with me, it'll be a good one.
Wow. Thank you so much, August, and much blessings to you and your family. And I wish you all the best. Thanks for being so kind and generous. And
no problem. Appreciate it.
You got it. Talk to you later.